Hello there. It's really good to know, isn't it, that things are still growing despite all the crisis that's unfolding around us. And the great thing that us gardeners have got is that we've got something to put all our energies into. So I hope you're doing what I'm doing and getting out as often as possible. So one of the things that we've said is that you can send in your queries to us and we'll answer them on video, or I'll answer them on video. And so that's what I'm proposing to do. So let's make a start. So first on the list is Julie. She wants to know, is it too late to cut back her Erigeron carvinskianus, or the Mexican fleabane? Now this is that delightful little daisy-like flower that creeps around and seeds around in your garden. And the answer, Julie, no, it is not too late. Get out there with your secateurs and cut back all of the clumps, all of the bushes by about half. They really regrow very quickly and they'll be in flower ready for the summer. Now Len wants to know, why are we told to plant cuttings around the edge of the pot and not in the centre? Well, there's a really simple answer to that, Len. It's because around the edge of the pot you've got the best amount of air, and it's the place that the water runs to quickest when you water your cuttings. So the cuttings around the edge can get the water that they need, but then they're not left sitting in water. In the centre of the pot, what you find is that the compost doesn't get wet very quickly when you water it initially, because all the water runs to the edge. And then also the cuttings, if they do get watered enough, they will be left sitting in water. And cuttings, in order to root, need both air and water. So the edge of the pot is best. Now Victor has emailed in to ask us why the leaves on his olive tree have developed a yellow rust. He's tried putting rose clear onto it to try and get rid of it, but that hasn't worked. And incidentally, there are other fungicides available other than rose clear, but it hasn't worked. And he's asking, David, what can I do to help? Well, the key thing is that this year, it having been so mild, we're seeing a lot of rust and fungal problems on all sorts of different plants, not only on olives but also on roses, and as the spring progresses you'll see it popping up on lots of other plants too. So the key thing is to try and cut down on the overwintering. It's a bit late to start now, but you cut down on the overwintering of the spores of those fungal problems by collecting all the leaves up at the end of the year from underneath the plants. Try and be as hygienic as possible. Now as regards his plant, it would really help if he just applied a mulch around the roots to retain moisture and also to give it a little bit of nutrition. And I would also give my olive a feed with some sulphate of potash. Sprinkle a couple of handfuls of sulphate of potash around the base of the plant, and that will toughen up the foliage and make it more able to shrug off the problems with rust. Now Evelyn wants to know about her seedlings. She says that she's trying not to over or underwater the seedlings, but they're damping off or collapsing, and she wants to know what she's doing wrong. So seedlings will collapse because of a fungal infection generally that creeps along the top surface of the compost and feeds on the seedlings right at the base and causes them to collapse. So this really can be avoided, making sure that you use fresh compost every time, that you don't leave the seedlings in the propagator for too long. And what I like to try and do is I like to mix in perlite. It needs to be perlite, not vermiculite. I like to mix in perlite in with my compost to open up the structure so that it's freer draining. And that means that I can water the seedlings regularly, but they're not going to be left sitting in really wet compost that could cause them to collapse. So Evelyn, give that a try. Now the last question this week comes from Lisa, and she's got a lovely flowering cherry that grows in the grass verge in front of their house, and she says that some of the branches don't produce any flower, and she wants to know why is this, and is there anything that she can do to help it? Well Lisa, it could be down to a couple of things. It could be that those branches are actually dead, in which case they won't flower, and equally they won't come into leaf during the summer. Or it could be that those shoots, those original shoots that have formed the branches, have come from below the grafting point on the tree, and in which case they will be the rootstock of the tree, and they won't ever really flower as successfully as the grafted piece, the required variety that's grown on the top of the tree. So in both of those cases, whether they're dead or whether they're suckers from the rootstock of the tree, I would take a saw to those branches and cut them back flush to where they're joining on to the stems that are producing the flower. So there you are, answers to some of the many questions that you're sending in to us here at gardenersworld.com. Hope I've provided the answers. In the meantime, don't forget to send any more questions in to me, David Hurrian, and I'll try my best to answer them next time. In the meantime, happy gardening.